So let's get started and see how we go through today. For some reason, it must be sunny out, so we have lower show up than normal, but that means we have a smaller group and you can ask lots of questions. Um, so my welcome point today is, a little bit of a disclaimer coming back to what Karen was talking about. AI can help people do amazing stuff when it's used right, and it can make almost anyone more effective. But sadly, a lot of people are using AI wrong. What people are using AI for. Charles, you have to click, by the way, to let people into the meeting.
I
Uh,
do that.
um, a lot of people treat AI as an oracle. It's like you're going to ask a question, it gives you the answer, you take whatever it gives you, you run on with that. And actually, that doesn't help that much because the first answer of AI is oftentimes not very good. And what we've seen is that companies that encourage people and train people to work with AI as a partner get better results. So our theme today is going to be on working with AI to do a strategically complex task, which is business model innovation. And hopefully during the time today, you will see some practical solutions and ideas. And question for you, Charles, can you control the slide so you can go forward?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So everyone is, as Brian said, everyone is telling you how to use AI. Too many people promise AI will help you get everything done better, easier, faster. Um, it won't unless you use it right. So in this talk, we'll tell you a little bit about us, 5 minutes, no more. Share why the subject of today is important, why business model innovation is that important. And we will show you how to do things step by step with AI in a very practical manner. So, since we will have a Q&A session by the end, please, if you have an important question you want to jot down, use the chat. We will take care at the end. If ever you have a burning question during the presentation, please raise your hand or take the mic, and we will be happy to take your question. So the chat is open and ready for your question. Um, so I'm Charles-Antoine. I will present in a sec. Brian approached me a while ago to help write a follow-up book for Cycles. Initial book. Cycles was an award-winning book, but many said it was too hard. Can you understand that? The challenge was how to do things better, faster, easier with AI. So this led to the second book, The Generative Organization, that is about to be published in June this year. It's a new book with a little bit of theory, but heavy on practical how-tos. A playbook, because the biggest challenge is often execution, not theory. So the core message, sorry, the core message of this webinar and the book itself is about working together with AI, working together. It's not just AI about doing everything for you, it's a co-work, it's a collaboration. AI can be great, however, bad AI can waste you a lot of time. So to work effectively, you really need to gather four skills. You need some domain expertise, your domain expertise. In this context, it's going to be business modeling. You need a method, an approach, a process, innovation approach, and we will come to that with some elements with how to innovate with business model. And fortunately, you need AI expertise and use it thoughtfully together with humans. So human has to use AI, humans has to talk together within a team to keep them in the loop and to work effectively. So to conclude this introduction, who are we? Sorry to start with myself. So I'm Charles-Antoine, working in innovation for more than 20 years. I created the award-winning design center at Thales, where we are specialized in design thinking and prospective design. I'm also the creator of From Zero to AI. Can you guess where this title is coming from? So this is an approach to integrate fruitfully Gen AI in organization, putting human at the core of the process. I'm also the author of a newsletter, Passeur de Futur, in French only. Sorry, guys. We have another co-host, co-author. I have in trouble to move from one side to another. So Gianfabio Inglese is our co-author for this part of the book. He's absolutely sorry not to make it today. It's really against his will. He's a seasoned innovator, thinking human first. He has a strong experience across industries to deploy innovation approaches. He is also teaching at University of Strasbourg in the east of France. Hey, Brian, what about you?
It's amazing the cultural difference. The French will apologize for going first, and the Americans say, "Fantastic, let me go." So I'm an American. I've been here in Europe most of my life. I'm what you might call a serial entrepreneur. I've done 11 companies, 6 countries, have 8 exits. If I was in the US, I'd probably be quite wealthy. Here, I'm doing okay. About 10 years ago, somebody asked me if I would like to teach, and I said, "Who wants to teach?" And it turned out actually I like to teach. So I've been teaching around the world. I've taught at EdHec, which is a top-rated entrepreneurship program in Europe, London Business School, University of Chicago, Stanford, Berkeley, and a bunch of accelerators. I did a little detour. I moved to Africa for a bit and I set up a foundation, which has a mission to coach, train 1 million innovators by 2027. And the only way I'm going to reach 1 million is with AI. That's the only way to do it. And I'm really happy here to be here with experts around the world. As I said earlier, we have 28 chapters in the book. We're going to be doing seminars and presentations on each chapter through the book. Now, the main subject of today is we're going to talk about business model innovation. And business model innovation can be defined in so many different ways. We've decided to focus on one simple definition, which is business model innovation is about changing how a company creates, delivers, and captures value to meet customer needs, stay competitive, and improve profitability. It's not about new products, but it's about rethinking how everything works together. And the question you might ask is, why would you want to worry about this? And for me, it's actually just a question of survival. If you look, and I'm old enough to do this, look back 30 years, I remember all these Michael Porter talks about, competitive value creation and how we're going to do things. And we were focusing on creating a competitive advantage on how we do stuff. That worked for a while. And then we moved on to a stage where, in fact, it wasn't about how we do stuff, but it's about what's the stuff we're making, where the focus was on innovation. And what we found out is that companies weren't able to make it by just on innovation. And what we saw is a move to business model innovation, which is looking at the what we make, how we do it, but also who we serve and how we extract value. And the interesting thing about business model innovation is the how and the what can be copied, but a system of how you put it together is more sustainable. Now, sometimes we look for credibility someplace else. I don't know how many people you recognize the guy here, Gary Hamel. He's one of the great authors on business strategy. He says, in his words, in the future, competition will take place not between products or companies, but between business models. Business models is the future of competition. And the question that comes up from a very practical point of view is, could AI help you make better business models? It can be a part of your business model, but today we're going to focus on how you can use it to identify different things.
So thank you very much, Brian, for this insight. Before jumping into AI, let's look at what we mean by business model innovation. What are the tools? What are examples? So let's move on and look at some companies. Netflix introduced a groundbreaking business innovation in their market some years ago. They even created a new market, moving from tangible asset, DVDs, sent by snail mail to a subscription-based digital platform. They even shook a little bit more by becoming a content producer to secure even more their business and maximize their autonomy on their ecosystem. To summarize, they introduce three key enablers: a digital platform, subscription, and original content they specifically designed. Let's look at another one, Amazon. Very well known, another big disruption in the retail business this time. They moved us from mortar malls to click on the couch. Rather than moving, in fact, us to stores, they brought the store to our devices. They added paid membership, providing extra services like contents, like music and films, together with free shipping, depending on the country. So here again, we have four game changer regarding the traditional market. So click to buy, membership, contents, and free shipment. Everything on the business model they could do as a switch. And we even don't speak about Amazon Web Services, which is the digital infrastructure making all this possible. Last example, Airbnb. So another disruptor, Airbnb introduced a double-sided business, allowing people to make money from extra space they could have at home and allowing travelers to simplify booking and discover new experiment with respect to traditional hospitality business. They did this thanks to a digital app connecting people together around the world. Again, two game changers, digital platform and double-sided business. We should add that Airbnb is going back to hospitality services since they announced earlier this week or in the last day of past week that they want to provide, while you're using Airbnb, they want to provide daily services like having a chef at home. Have you ordered a chef at home for tonight? You can with Airbnb have your own chef tonight. So what we see is to be successful, this business model at least change two parts of a traditional business model. So this is very interesting, and we'll come back to that later on. That's good. We have example.
Um,
Nice. Sorry.
Karen raised a question. She said, how are you defining innovation and what does it mean here? And in fact, I think it's good to take a second out. What we're looking about creating something which is meaningful for the customer, i.e., it's creating value, it's unique in some way, and it's able to capture value. And when you look at the ways that you modify your business model, all these companies found ways to deliver more value, to be more differentiated, and to extract more value. Does that help, Karen? Yep, cool. Back to you, Charles Antoine.
Thank you. Very good question, by the way. We need more time to deep into this one as well. So, what are the tools? How can you innovate in terms of business model? So, we have a couple of elements to share with you. We have this as a business model canvas, very well known, very detailed, very interesting to go to deepen an idea. If you just want to surface an idea, to go fast on several ideas, you have another tool, which is a simplified version of, sorry, I'm having trouble moving slides, Brian. We have a simplified version coming from St. Gallen. It's a simplified version of the business model, focusing on really the core element of any business model. What do you offer? How do you deliver? And the value you provide. It may be a simpler canvas at first, then you could move when you're good to the business model canvas in a second step. So we have a tool, either the business model canvas, either the canvas, the triangle coming from St. Gallen, and we have a set of resources. We have those patterns coming. It doesn't want to move more. So we have here, thanks to what we call Business Model Navigator, a reference library of 55 business model patterns. I think it's hard to find a business in the world that is not depicted in this set of business patterns. Most of the business around the world are here. Maybe your business is here depicted maybe in two or three patterns, but those are really the atoms of any business model on Earth. So you have this reference library, you have the tool we discussed a minute ago. Um, what are the difference? In fact, it's not a matter of difference, it's a matter of how can you use them together because they are complementary. We have on one side a tool to think, a tool to assess your current business model or the one from your competitor. We will see that in a minute. Bryan will demonstrate that. So we have a tool for assessing or envisioning a new business model, and we have a library of patterns where you can pick from to drive your business model innovation. And that library is going to be really key in the next part of the presentation. Again, every business model to perform a good, sorry, doesn't doesn't work very well. So you could take two elements to change your business model, either what you deliver and how you make money, either how you deliver and how you make money, and take advantage of the various patterns that are offered by the library itself. Now we introduce business model innovation in general. Let's focus on how AI can help and how can AI support your thinking. One advantage would be that the AI is able to access that huge library of patterns and find patterns inside your current business model or the one from your competition. It's very interesting to analyze the competition. You'll see that in a minute. Bryan is going to investigate the competitors of our contender thanks to this. What we need to keep in mind is AI is really more about making you better, getting better quality rather than doing it fast. People tend to see AI is going to be fast. Yes, it's going to be lightning fast with respect to human. That is going to be better. Better in the sense that it's going to be broader. It can embrace much more data than you could do as a human. So that's really the partnership we need to envision with AI. In our chapter, we identified four key success factors to use AI together with the business model innovation process. First is customer intelligence. You have access to a huge body of knowledge. You can leverage AI analytics for deep customer insights and real-time behavior tracking, ensuring market fit and value alignment. You could use simulation. You could use the AI to simulate and test multiple scenarios rapidly, enabling swift pivots in response to market fit. That's interesting. Continuously, you could deploy AI monitoring tools for ongoing both business model assessment and optimization, transforming your business model innovation approach into data-driven and even iterative process. And collaborative. This is really key. Combine AI-generated insight with cross-functional team expertise and working together, really human at the core of the process to create a comprehensive organization-wide solution. Being even more practical, we have identified a process in 3 steps. Okay. The first step is um, elaborating on what is the current business model, your current business model, and the AI can analyze your own business model or the one from a competitor you want to get inspiration from. Um, the AI will produce inspiration coming from the world to assess your business model and even identify the challenges of your business model. Challenges coming from the intern of your business model or coming from the outside, from the ecosystem itself. Your business has evolved in an ecosystem that has evolved rapidly. Maybe it could be changed thanks to this. So first thing is analyze your current situation, as is situation. Then you can move. Now that you have a good understanding on where you sit on the picture, you can envision the future. How can your business model be in the next future, the to be situation? So you can select, thanks to AI, various proposals the AI can make based on patterns and proposition it makes coming from the challenges as identified. So you co-create new model using AI. So it's not just about listening what the AI has to say, it's just challenging the AI, asking, requiring the AI to ask you question and you question yourself, the AI. We will see that, Bryan will demonstrate that. And finally, you probably have to summon a collaborative workshop to make decision between humans. So you have your team, you discuss the proposal you came up with thanks to the AI, and you work together with your team. So this is a pattern. Do, review, share. You will find throughout the book. You do assessment of the current situation. You review the proposal coming from the AI, and you share with your team. So it's really a work together with your team. Bryan, what about moving to the practical part?
Yeah. All right. So first of all, hands off to you, Charles Antoine. I know how difficult it would be for me to do this in French. Fantastic start. So what we're going to do is a quick case study. I have a company which I love, and I don't know if any of you even know about it. There's a company called Django. Django does streaming online. And what we would like to do is see if we can find ways to do a business model innovation for Django to compete against Spotify. And the challenge is to see if we can do this in 15 minutes using AI. Now, because I'm here, you know I'm going to make it in 15 minutes, so no big surprise, but you'll see an interesting thing along the way. So there's 4 options you could take. One is you could use an LLM. They know most of the things that you need to know. So Bryan was asking before. So for example, if I ask it the LLM about the St. Gallen's business models, it will know it. So I can say, look, I want to change my business model, combine and take some of these different things, it'll know it. You could use an LLM adding specific knowledge files, a book, articles, methods, and things like that. All of this will work okay, but it requires a bit more expertise. Our solution is about providing you with a series of expert prompts or a GPT with the expert prompts built into it. The advantage we're looking at is it's easier, it's step by step. The only difference is a little bit of things are hidden behind the screens, but if you click, you can actually see what's there. What I'm going to propose and present today is using a GPT, and I'm going to give you the link for that. And the reason for it is you can work with AI in a conversational manner. It's not just a prompt and you get a response, but you can actually type in things. So what do we have? We've got some information about what is business model innovation. We have a playbook, and in that playbook, we have a series of prompts in a GPT, which are in the following format: do, review, and share. So if I was to look, you can take a copy of this presentation. You can click on the first link, and you will get a long prompt. And what that long prompt looks like is something like this, which actually keeps on running and running and running and running and running and running. And that is the first one we do, which is to assess the situation where you are right now. Then we have a second one, which is about reviewing what you got back from the AI. And a third one, which is about how do you get humans involved in this? And I think the last one, in some ways, is probably the most important. Or, and the easy solution, you just click on the GPT, which is created for business model innovation, and you just start asking your questions there. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through a 6-step process. The first step is access the tools. My suggestion would be to use the GPT. You start with a question or challenge. You answer some questions that are coming back. You get some results. You interact a little bit. You make a few decisions, and you put a human in the loop. Okay, not too difficult. And the timer starts now.
So just before, to be clear, Brian, so you're going to assess whether we can get inspiration from the Spotify business so as to enhance, improve, disrupt the one from Django. Is it correct?
Nope, it's the other direction. So Django, itsy bitsy teeny weeny company, 50 million in market cap. Can they take on the big behemoth, which is Spotify? So I'm going to imagine a situation. I don't have a meeting coming up with Django, but I'm going to start out my process here. Talking to ChatGPT, but you can do this in all the different models you want. It says, we got a meeting coming up with Django. They run a small online business streaming, music streaming business. We'd like to see how they might create a new and improved business model and take business from Spotify. Let's start by looking at the business models of both companies. Please analyze using the St. Gallen's 4-part business model. As Brian was guessing, you can actually go through and it'll give you that information straight away, which is truly amazing. What we see here is Spotify is 56 billion in market cap. Django is 50 million in terms of market cap. The big difference that comes up between the two is Django is for people who don't want to pay anything, and their money is coming through ads and artist promotions. There's no subscription fees. But the question that comes up is within all the things that are happening in the market, is there something that they could do different? So the starting point is we know what they're doing. Now, 2 minutes in. Now let's look at where Django could create a more competitive business model. Let's start by looking at issues in the Spotify business model and business trends that might provide opportunities. What we get coming out from the AI is a lot of areas where there's issues coming up. In terms of value creation, there's a saturation of content. People are passive in the way that they're dealing with it. The recommendations aren't great. There's an issue here in terms of delivery, high cost structures, platform dependency, and probably most important is then the value capture bit. They have an old model, which hasn't changed very much. At the same time, what we can do is we can ask the AI to give us some information about trends. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole list here, but I'm going to focus on the first two. One is the rise of the creator economy. So the idea is there's an opportunity for direct artist to fan monetization. And there's a second thing, which is about AI personalization. Personalized experience, personalized DJs, personalized this, personalized that. Now, what we can do is we can ask the AI, especially in this GPT that we've created, based on this stuff, let's look at ways we could create a more competitive business model. We're going to look at the issues that are there, and we're going to come back with some proposals. Now, this prompt is not exactly what was run. I don't know how I got this one here, but basically what we're asking to do is tell me some business models that might work. And it ended up, it generated 4 different business models. This is approximately 7 minutes into the process. The first one is a fan to artist loop. It's a creator powered music platform that lets fans fund, vote for, and influence artist exposure. By the way, this is what MySpace tried to do. It didn't work very well, so I probably wouldn't go forward in that direction. The second one was focusing in much more on the what trying to identify a different experience where it could be for mood-based playlists, AI curated therapy, wellness focused. My wife would like this. Personally, I don't find it that interesting because I like to listen to fun music. Another one that it came up with, and you realize that the AI didn't know these companies beforehand. A local pulse, a geo-aware music discovery, the neighborhood radio of the future. Also kind of interesting, but I don't see an opportunity to make money. The last one, actually, I liked. It was called Django AI, and it was about co-creating the sound. It's a next-gen music platform where AI meets humans, fans co-create songs, artists prototype with AI tools, and every user has the power to remix, regenerate, and rediscover. What's interesting here is an opportunity for them to generate money in a different way. Um, they could get artists paying for AI studios, premium users can co-create tracks or license AI stuff. So in fact, what we're looking at is a small change in line with the trend in the market. And could it be interesting? Now, the thing that we don't do often enough when we look at AI is think. We say, wow, this is amazing, the stuff that got back. What you might forget is, in fact, if you ran this analysis twice, it would give you four different business models. If you ran it three times, it would give you four more. So you'd have 12 different business models. So, in fact, they're not giving you the ultimate answer the first time, but you have to think about whether you like this or not. So now we're 11 minutes into the process. You can give some feedback. You can focus your request. I said, well, you know what? I like number four. Let's look at the current business model and the new business model. And what I want you to do is not to change everything because this company doesn't have lots of money, but recommend the two easiest changes to take substantial business away from Spotify and the rationale for the choice. What it came up with here, I think, is actually really cool. One is they're talking about launching a freemium AI remix. So basically, AI involved, AI making the best mixes for you. And secondly, offering an AI studio for independent artists, which is where they're making their money right now. Now, one step further, you could ask the AI again, huh, okay, these things look good, but yeah, give me an idea how much this would cost. Provide me an estimate of the costs and possible revenue increase. And lo and behold, the AI will give you an answer. Whether it's right or not, that's another question. But it will give you an answer and it will give you a reasoned answer. And it can even tell you how it got to those numbers. So the first one, we're looking at something maybe 100, 150,000 with a revenue impact 500,000 per year. The second one, we're looking at somewhere around 150,000 again with a revenue impact of about 1 million per year. You could also ask the question going back and say, what are the biggest risks with new Django AI? Put this in a chart, include the risk, why it matters, how do we get rid of it? And what we'll see is that, of course, there's risks. But what I look at is when I go through this list of mitigation strategies, nothing is overwhelming. So now, 13 minutes in, we've got an idea for two specific actions. We've got a total investment of around 300,000. We've got a potential revenue increase of around 1.5 million and an increase in market value between 5 and 12. It's not going to make them $1 billion company, but the risks are manageable. It's future focused and 10% increase in market value. I wouldn't sneeze at. The question that comes up now is how do you move forward with this? And I think what we tend to do is we end up and say, oh, wow, this is a great idea. Let's do it. But in fact, the opportunity is to bring humans back in the loop. And what we do here is we say, look, we'd like to organize a talk to discuss these ideas. Please provide a 2-hour workshop. Boom, we got our workshop coming out. The advantage of this is quite simple. We can accelerate our innovation cycles. We can reduce risk through, imagine if we can get better customer understanding and we get systematic opportunity discovery. Now, the big question that I would look at is, can you trust this? And the answer is, well, sort of. I think what you need to do is you need to keep your brain on. You need to be reflective. You need to think of ways that you can do things smart and make sure that what you're getting back from AI is something you can use. With a lot of things we're looking at, there's things that I would call a knowing doing gap. And what I did is I finished this 15 minutes and I said, how could I have done this better? And there's four ways, very practically, we could have used AI more effectively in the process. Um, the first one is we're talking about starting with a talk. As human beings, we're not meant to think with our fingers, we're meant to think with our brains and our mouth. One of the things I could have done is instead of having that first prompt, which I typed, I could have just talked for a while. I could say, I love Django. This is why I like it. And I could say, I'm going to go through, I'll talk for a bit. At the end, please organize my thoughts, looking for key points. Help me organize our work to help us get started working on a new business model. And then I could talk for 10 to 15 minutes. In fact, this will be much more creative than what I tend to type. And what you'll see is AI does an amazing job of putting in. Another thing we do is we tend to look at AI as a way of getting answers. But a lot of times you can turn the table and ask for something, but before you get that something, ask AI to give you some feedback. So we might have said, look, we want to create a new business model, but before you start, ask me 3 questions to clarify our challenge. And what you'll see is it's really good in getting put in the right direction. The superhuman, amazing thing of AI right now, which we could have had domain expertise. For me, domain expertise is knowledge of this industry. I'm not an expert in the music industry. But what we could do is we say, look, we're working on this. Please help me write a deep search prompt to collect detailed market knowledge to help us with this challenge. This could be running in Google, Gemini. It could be running in ChatGPT. The type of thing that you get back is a really, really long prompt, looking at all the trends in the industry, some suggestions of the output, and what you'll get in about 20 minutes is a 30 to 40 page report, as good as you might get from your consultant. It's like having a McKinsey consultant on 10 cups of coffee and he can't go to sleep. The last one is to think about a different way of working with AI. And in fact, asking AI for help. What we did is we started here. We thought we were experts, but in fact, at the start of our process, we could have said, look, we're working on this challenge. Please suggest a step-by-step plan. Equally important, at the end of the process, we could have asked, we just did a whole bunch of work for Django. Please identify 3 key things we might have missed in our analysis and suggest an action plan to move forward. All of these things are really practical. Now, you don't need us to do this stuff. We've given you tools. We're going to give you the prompts. You just need to keep your brains on. Not very hard. But what we can bring is some expertise to define your challenge. We can bring you a whole set of tools. And some people have even said we're fun to work with. If you want the slides for the talk, the slides are available here. I'll give you the link in just a second. If you're willing to give us some feedback, and this is the first time we've run this talk, you'll get a whole bunch of other free things. You get our chapter from the original book, our new chapter, access to the GPT, the slides from the talk, video from the talk, and a chance to meet with us because we're really wonderful folks. If you want to connect with us, here are the links, and I'll give it to you at the end. And what I'd like to do is turn the tables. Instead of it being me presenting or Charles Antoine presenting, is let you ask a few questions.
I think Brian has a bright question about how can we get feedback from customers, real humans, thanks to AI, or put it in a different way, where is AI sourcing customer insight?
Um, huh. So let me answer this in a sort of a long answer. There's a new service out called synesthesia. Synesthesia makes what you would call uh,
Synthetic.
synthetic users.
Totally.
Now, the question that you would have is, you know, how do you get feedback? Um, I'm trying to copy, I'm trying to copy the thing into the chat. It's not working. One of the best ways to get feedback is to ask AI to imagine different personas dealing with this. So, for example, what you might do is you might say, look, we've put together this plan. What I'd like you to do is put 10 personas together for our board and have each of those board members giving me individual feedback. Now, of course, this isn't as good as personal feedback, but the advantage it has is it can be done immediately and it can be done easily. And some of the research they've done at synesthesia is they've shown, in fact, the AI is more reliable and more consistent than a typical consumer answering a lot of questions. I don't know if that answers the question, Charles Antoine. How would you answer the question differently?
Yeah, I will definitely go for synthetic personas. But because I'm very deeply rooted in design thinking, I probably will go for a real person as well. And
Have to use real people. Come on. I mean, you're selling to people.
and I may add up to the GPTs the feedback I collected from people, so that it will be better fine-tuned. Um, but for sure, synthetic persona are critical for such a business, for testing different assumption.
Karen, I saw you. We had this question at the beginning about practical. Did we get to practical stuff or are we still in theory for you?
I saw the business models and
Yeah.
then how you explain. So yeah, it got to the practical. I think it was too short, this webinar, to go more on details on every part of it. But yeah, I have more a question now on the like the GPT. It's not the chat GPT, it's just your model, or the what is this? Is the chat GPT?
In fact, you have access to the prompt itself, so you can run it wherever you want. So we run it on ChatGPT, but you can take it to Claude, you can take it to any other provider you're willing to to work with. In the prompt, you'll see that
Ah, okay.
we point to Business Model Navigator, but as well you can add your own data. You can add your own documents if you want.
Yeah. No, well, my question, yes, okay, it was more which was the support that you were running under you, which you were running the
So,
um yeah, AI, no? Because it's always depends on the data. You know, I can run it on whatever, Party Rock from Amazon, or I can run it on ChatGPT or whatever, things from Anthropic. But it's where this is pulling information, because of course there was some sensitive things that would make sense that they suggested, but they
so
could be pulling things from anywhere,
the,
right?
the answer to your question, the thing that the output I was showing you was from using a GPT, which is made in OpenAI. It could also be made in Gem or something like that. One of the things that's really cool if you're using the GPT is you can actually also upload a bunch of information and use the basic ideas that are there. The reason I like using a GPT is you can continue working with it and just chat with it, and you're putting the knowledge in it. So, for example, here we have another webinar about jobs to be done. We put all the stuff around jobs to be done into a GPT, and then the GPT knows that methodology quite well. Cool.
So it comes back to the question, I think it was from Brian, but I'm not sure. Does an LLM knows about St. Gallen 55 patterns? Yeah, of course they know, but it's probably even better to remind it that you want to use to refer to that, so that is going to be to narrow down its thinking to this body of knowledge.
So in the GPT that we've created, we actually put in the 55 different business models. We put in the details, so it's all there and it's top of mind. when it's thinking. When when you use ChatGPT, for example, I tried it. It forgets one of the four elements a lot of times of the business model. If you do the business model canvas, I think there's 9 elements. It'll typically forget two or three, which is kind of frustrating because you want to fill in all the boxes. But if you actually force it and say, look, this is the structure, it will give you back the right answers. Cool. So,
We have a question from Stefan. Stefan, if you're still here, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, just wanting to. Yeah, I definitely like all what you did because it's something I'm trying also to do on my side, but standalone. So I really like the steps you put all together. But did you compare and do you have kind of a comparison about the time spent by people, any people on each step and in each method you are using in because it's also something that we need to
let me
understand.
this tongue in cheek. If I used to subcontracted consulting work for some of the leading consulting companies, if I was doing what I just did for Django, I would be billing 3 to 4 weeks
Okay.
because that's how long I could justify, and I would have a 75-page presentation and it would all be there. But now what you're looking at is the ability to do things faster. But as you go faster, you can get feedback and you can improve it quicker. In fact, the idea is not just to get fast, but to get iterations, because what happens is ideas improve over time. So the amount of time I spent here, really, it was 15 minutes, beginning to end. It took me more time to do the screenshots than it did to do the work itself.
15 minutes. Okay, wow. That's stunning. Okay, proceed.
And by the way, if you hire me to do a workshop, I do this in 2 hours. So we meet, they give me a briefing, we do this together, and people are actually learning to do this within 2 hours from beginning to end.
Okay, great.
I
I
would probably add that, Stefan, that aside from the time you gain, the fact is probably the outcomes are broader than what a human could possibly do, unless you have an army of people. So you could paralyze and have a very big breath. With AI, really, you broaden the perspective. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
so
I definitely like it. Yeah.
so Brian Mattymore raised an interesting point. He said both of us are fans of Triz, and he said, "Oh, could you create a prompt which is combining Triz with this?" And the answer is really easily. And the advantage is you can ask AI to combine anything to solve a problem, and it will try to mix and match the stuff together. And you could say, look, you have 55 business models, you have 42 TRIZ principles, you multiply that out, what is it? 2,100 ideas. You just let it run and see, give me 2,100 ideas to improve my business. And that would actually be really cool. The problem that comes up is, do you have somebody to go through it all? And then what you can do is you can train your AI to actually evaluate the ideas on the other side. And a point there, which is actually for years and years, it used to be the rule of thumb. If you wanted to create great ideas, you had to create a lot of ideas. Now, it's still there with AI. And it's still there that you have to create bad ideas and good ideas, because if you don't get the diversity of ideas, you never get a great idea that pops out. So I think it's a cool idea. We should try it, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and also to ask AI to pick the 20 best that it thinks of the 20 best and why of the 2000. Yeah.
So one of the things, have you guys ever heard of a guy named Jeremy Utley? Jeremy does some really good presentations. And one of the things that I saw, which was really good, is he actually asked the AI to select the 10 worst ideas. So present me the 10 best and the 10 worst. And actually, what our brains do is it actually corrects those 10. And sometimes in the worst ideas, we have real inspiration for good ideas coming out. Anyways, that was it, guys.
Brian, just a quick last question. How up to date is the trend stuff with ChatGPT?
Last week.
Oh, okay. Great.
So
Great.
you could say, look, I'm actually working with a large consulting company. What they do is they say, tell me what's happened with my client in the last week. They do that report on Friday. Monday morning, they upload it into a GPT and say, tell me what we should present to that client this week.
Cool. Wow. Love it. Talk about opportunity for consulting projects, right?
Opportunity for consulting, but the thing that comes up is also, they're taking, for example, in that report, 150 pages of stuff, and they summarize it down to 3 action points, which a team can manage. Nobody can read 150 pages.
Well, and just I had a friend who is head of an association of associations, and recent legislation, he took a 150-page document from Washington, DC, a bill or whatever, put it in and said, summarize it for me. And it did a great job. Sorry. Anyway.
Okay, cool. That was it today. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. If you want, you got a link to get a free copy of the presentation. We'll go forward from there. And may the force be with you. Ajit, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for attending and for all your questions.